I don't think it's correct.
Well,
Anyway, we can't go on discussing this.
Okay, Preeti Chaudhary is through. She's an army officer's daughter. We've got an all-men studio of guests saying that women should not be allowed in combat roles. Preeti Chaudhary. Okay, we've got different views, but by and large, Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad saying Indian society is not ready for women in combat roles. Preeti Chaudhary.
Rahul, I missed out on that conversation, but whoever is saying whatever they are saying on women in combat in the studio, well, they can just eat their heart out, because you're going to have 3 contingents of women officers marching down Rajpath. So that pretty much puts it. Well, we hope that it's going to change. We really do hope, sir.
No, because here, Preeti, we just heard Shankar Prasad say that it's too difficult for women to be out in combat roles. You've got say a men infantry platoon going out on a patrol. How can women cope with that? Indian society is not ready for it. Indian women are not ready for it.
Indian culture is not
Indian
ready
culture, he says, not ready.
Rahul, I'm going to personalize this. I'm a reporter there, and you and I both know when we do go out in the field at all odd times, at all odd hours, in situations which I would reckon at times maybe wouldn't be a combat zone, but are not, less difficult than that as well. So if we can do this, we can pretty much do everything there. So I don't reckon that it has anything to do with combat.
We've got these images coming from the BJP headquarters in Delhi. BJP President Amit Shah unfurling the tricolour. The Jana Gana Man is currently being sung. We've got these images from the BJP headquarters. But Shankar Prasad, sir, that's a very important point. If you see journalism, Preeti went up to Gomukh. That's where the Ganga starts from, trekking with several men in the crew all the way up. You said that there were no toilets, there's no place to sleep. Women are braving those kind of conditions and doing what earlier women would have been wary of doing. Parents wouldn't have wanted women to do them, but now it's perfectly okay
let's
for someone.
Understand one thing. I'm not doubting the physical capabilities of women. They're very strong. Mentally, they're very strong. It's a question of working in a small team of 6 or 7 people out in the field for days together without any facilities at all. You've got to go and see how the infantry works. You've got to go and see how the tank people go and work. If you're okay, you're okay in the signals, you're okay in the ordnance, you're okay in the legal branches, you're okay in all of the others. Where at the end of the day, there is a possibility where you can get some kind of a shelter. I'm not suggesting a full-fledged rest house or something. Whereas in the case of the infantry, you will be behind a stone for days together. You'll be behind a tree for days together. And you will have people whose clothes get torn because they're running around. So, it is very, very nice to say. Socially, it is very correct to say. Politically, it's very correct to say. The time has come for women to join in the combat role. I say, as the first step, create a full battalion.
Ambassador Casey.
I think you have to do it by phases. Even in the West, the sexual harassment charges, they are surfacing in the US services. And in fact, you find that
they surface even when women are in administrative roles.
No, they've covered up a lot. There, but combat rules, the other problem is that what happens when you're taken prisoner? You bail out, you fall over Pakistan. You say, I think the simple reaction of society to a lady officer taken prisoner on the other side, what will happen to her, who will do what, harassment.
No, but those, Ajay Shukla, concerns in the United States also. It's a nightmare for a woman officer to be taken hostage.
This is pure patriarchal attitude.
Good, I'm glad you're on my side.
The belief is that if a man is taken prisoner and a man is raped, that's fine. But if a woman is taken prisoner and a woman is raped, that is a slur on Indian manhood. It's a belief that if a man, and this is, I'm coming down really to the most bald language, if a man goes and defecates behind a stone in full view, it's okay. But if a woman does that, there is something, some spark that will be ignited and the whole social balance of that unit will be disrupted. It's an attitudinal change. You have to just see women as exactly the same as men, and then you will be able to influence.
Listen, first change the male behavior on the streets of Delhi. Make them safe in your buses here. Then we'll say they are safe in combat roles. This is how the male in South Asia
is. Defecating in the open. Let's have some common toilets first in cities.
Yeah.
Can you have a common toilet?
I want to hear from a woman as well. Preeti Chaudhary, what are you making of this?
Of course, there's a need for common toilets in cities.
Rahul, Rahul, with all due respect to everybody in the studio, I really do think it's time enough that moral reference points for women and how they must behave and what must be done to keep them safe should not be decided by people sitting in studios. It's just, I think this is just archaic. Sitting there and saying that we must provide toilets, for God's sake, 80% of women actually defecate out in the public. So let's not get in there. It's more difficult for these women to go out there every day to actually safeguard themselves than to figure out whether they can actually deal in a combat role or not. So we can't do that. And I think it's fairly shameful that we're sitting here in the 66th Republic. They're sitting there and saying that we should first provide toilets. First, we should keep our women secure in buses. Now, what age are we living in? I'm not going to let a bunch of people sit in a studio and decide moral reference points for me or for anybody else out there. No, it's time you're treated as equals, and I completely agree with the gentleman who was in the studio who said that, a man gets raped and a woman gets raped. What is the difference? The day we stop differentiating is the day you treat us at par.
Yeah, so Rahul, let me just come in. I think this is an inane debate. The reality is that you have a small, very, very, very minuscule container and space, and you have men and women living there together, doing the same tasks, literally, doing all your body functions and in the close proximate environment. You go and you do that in many times. In daily life, you were saying you go to the village, in any village, you go and defecate in the open in any case. And you have to be wary of predators there in the village, which are probably more dangerous than your combat condition. I think this debate is over. Gradually you will see that they will start coming into roles. It will be a natural process, and I think the Prime Minister here on this Republic Day is trying to showcase that the time to change is probably now.
And the next step in this is to raise an all-women's contingent to start with, have an all-women's battalion.
Correct.
I think that is important. That's the next step, and then we can work our way towards having women in combat roles as well, gradually and in phases. But that's the direction in which to go. And if there are women who are prepared to take the risk, why should they be denied the opportunity just because they happen to be women?
No, Rahul, there are very good reasons.
Okay.
There are certain basic physical standards, basic recruitment's achievement test.
Those must be met.
And those have got to be met. And in a lot of cases in the United States Army, those standards have been lowered so that women can get through, which is the reason why there are special forces and special corps, like the Marine Corps, for instance, which has refused to lower or incapacitated below decks. You have to manhandle them through hatches to bring them up on the upper deck, and that the women don't have the upper bodily strength on the average to be able to work in damage control parties. These are actual physical problems which have been slurred over to permit women to take part because of the demographic problem.
Okay.
We don't have that demographic
Standards
problem.
created by men.
The US Marines are getting their first combat soldiers now, women who lift up those 60-pound packs, run those 10 miles over there. You have to meet the standards.
Absolutely.
But we all the time lower our standards, even for men. The height restrictions are lowered for mountain tribes and classes. We do this all the time. And I'm not suggesting we do it for women.
Set by a patriarchal society.
Okay, we need to slip into a break. This is a very fierce debate, and you've heard from different points of view. We leave it to you to decide where you stand on this. We're slipping into a break. When we come back, we return to our focus on the Republic Day celebrations. On the other side.